Right, so I'll do my intro and then I'll introduce you. Oh yeah, sure. Just take a drink of bourbon right while I'm trying to talk. Oh, we're gonna get along really well, you know that? Hey, thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment here on YouTube and maybe even Rumble for this one. And if the full thing's not on Rumble, I'm probably going to put the parts where I make him look really bad on there. So, as always, make sure you're commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. There's a couple options on YouTube to subscribe. You can either subscribe right here in a link in the video or down below. You're going to want to share this one today. Because a lot of you can't get through a single one of my videos unless you've been drinking either coffee, as you all know I sell, or alcohol. And that's who we're talking to today, is the face of Harmony Spirits. This is Jim Simpson, and I ran into him a few weeks back when I stopped in to finally see the local distillery that I'd been hearing about on Garage Logic, and also became aware of them. Well, I'll let Jim tell a little bit of that. Jim, tell us a little bit about what you did, and well, let's do this. Tell us a little bit about when you guys opened, and then we're going to get into what you did after you opened.
Oh, yeah. So we started cooking and distilling here in March of 2019. So right, on the cusp of pre-pandemic world.
A year.
Yeah. So it was, we had a good run till basically winter, and then everything kind of shut down and got weird.
So when, and I recommend everybody goes in and checks out your about page and, follows you on Facebook and, follows you on Twitter, just for no other reason than it's just fun to see a page about alcohol talk about itself, because, the drunk guy in the room is always willing to talk about himself. So, you guys opened up in March 2019. March 2020 rolls around. Everything's shutting down. Did you sell more alcohol or less alcohol when that started?
So for us, it was less. We were kind of an unknown. I know It was kind of going like hotcakes at the liquor stores, but for the most part, it was the bottom shelf products that were flying off the shelf.
It's normally where I go to. And then I heard about you guys being a local distillery, which really kind of surprised me, because I normally have somewhat of an idea of what's going on around me, and because we're only about 30 miles apart, and you guys kind of slipped under the radar, and then all of a sudden you switched over to distilling hand sanitizer. Yeah, alcohol-based hand sanitizer for the pandemic.
But yeah, we didn't actually distill the alcohol ourselves because it costs us a lot of money to make a gallon of alcohol. So we bought alcohol from a large producer, and then we split a tanker load actually with 3 other distilleries so that we could blend and manufacture the hand sanitizer. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. They changed the rules quite often, but it was also something to do to make us essential, because they shut us down for 124 days.
So did they actually tell you that Harmony Spirits cannot function right now, or?
No, just but by the rule, we weren't technically supposed to be here because we weren't considered essential. There was a short period of time there where if you weren't an essential business, you weren't supposed to be going to work. Or I don't remember how they talked about, they wanted you to carry paperwork showing you were essential if you were on the road for a while there.
Well, yeah, there was a rumor going around that was gonna, but that sounded a little bit too much like Nazi Germany for.
Right. Yeah, I don't believe we actually would have ever gotten pulled over for going to work or for being here.
Not in this neck of the woods.
No, but definitely like the tasting room, we had to have that closed down.
Was that we've talked a couple of times, and obviously when you have ads on Garage Logic, you're not probably known for being, should we say, sheepishly compliant. Was it pretty hard for you guys to say to swallow that and say, I guess we're going to have to shut down. Was there some debate there? Like, how do we really want to handle this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was all that stuff was tough to handle. And it wasn't like anybody was directly contacting us and telling us we couldn't do business. It was just trying to decipher for yourself what was allowed and what we could do, and nobody likes to be told that kind of thing.
It kind of, your guys' response, not just the fact that you got together and packed, blended and made a hand sanitizer and put it in under Harmony Spirits as a label, which to me, and I have to say this, was a phenomenal workaround. What could have been a devastating blow to a business that was barely a year old.
Oh yeah, we actually had to borrow money because we were closed down and didn't really know what to do. And then our main channel of getting our alcohol to people is through the distributor, and so they were also closed down and not visiting stores and not really active. So it was a really, really low time for business. And then we'd actually borrowed money as we were just to pay the mortgage and keep the lights on. And we took that money and bought a tanker load of alcohol, and then sold some of it, or had split it with some other distilleries so they could also make hand sanitizer, because we didn't know what kind of volume we'd go through.
The mind-blowing thing to me is not what you're saying, but the sheer volume of people that I've spoken to. And as I've told you, I've interviewed other business owners, who, one of them being a gal there in Freeborn County in Albert Lee, who complied the first go around. And when the governor said, no, you're going to shut your business down because I deemed you being non-essential, she's like, oh, okay. And she did the same thing. She had to borrow money to even just keep the electricity on. And when I say borrow, a lot of times it was borrowed against credit cards, borrowed against, savings, whatever and it's mind-blowing to me that here, as a private business, privately held, privately secured business, the regular hoops that you have to jump through just to be in business. One of those being kind of like what they've done to independent breweries with the size of crawlers that they can sell. They have kind of the same. The state has the same restrictions on you, and I think one of the guys, it might have been you, said, "Oh yeah, Minnesota's still a prohibition state." Which I'm putting you out there. I'm sorry, it's hilarious. I think it's so
it kind of originated here. It was Volstad was a Minnesota politician, so the Volstad Act originated in Minnesota. So,
and only a distillery owner would know that. So, so tell me a little bit about what government oversight says that you can and cannot sell, because I don't think people understand. They get a little bit of a feel because going to a brewery is kind of a thing. People don't, and it's becoming a thing, as it says on your about page, that you guys like to use to tour breweries and distilleries, but that's touring distilleries has not quite reached the level of touring breweries. So some people have a little bit of a finger on a pulse of what it is to tour a brewery and what that looks like. But I don't think people understand just what kind of restrictions are in place for you guys, taking the COOF pandemic out of, and I say COOF because it keeps the algorithm from picking up the other word. And then my videos don't get banned.
Yeah, we basically, the only place we can sell to the consumer is in our tasting room. So we have a designated space. That's the only spot we can sell. Otherwise, everything has to go through the 3-tier system, which would be, we're a supplier manufacturer. We have to sell all of our products to a distributor. The distributor has to take them to a licensed distribution warehouse, and then from there they can ship it back to liquor stores, bars, and restaurants, or the end seller. So yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, we have 3 bars here in town that all serve our product, but it has to all go to St. Paul and come back. so that they can get it on the bar.
Okay, I'm just going to demand that you say that one more time. You have 3 bars.
Yeah, so there's 3 bars and a liquor store here in town.
Let's name those. That's fine.
So Pam's Liquor, On the Crunchy Side, The Bite, and Distill, and they all have our products and
feature them actually, don't they?
What's that? Yeah,
they feature your products.
Distill, that's pretty much their main products that they sell. There, the Harmony Spirits products. But yeah, we have to. So a truck comes here after an order's placed, and we get it bottled and labeled and packaged, and it takes all of our product to a warehouse in St. Paul. And then the bars and restaurants place an order, and then they ship it from St. Paul down to Harmony. So it has to travel 4 hours before you can get it. Where they're all, I mean, literally yards away.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and then we also
bureaucratic morass at work in the state of Minnesota.
Minnesota, I believe, is one of the last states also to limit the size that we can sell. So like in Iowa, you could go to a distillery, you can buy a full size 750 milliliter bottle. In fact, I believe you can buy 6 of them, one person, where in Minnesota, you can buy one 375 milliliter half size bottle per person per day.
You have one of those in arm's reach?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's our little tiny guy.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's the bourbon.
So it's just hand sized.
Yeah, well, your hands, they're like they're Iowa corn-fed beef hands. What are you talking about? I grew up and graduated from high school in Iowa, southern Iowa. So
I don't even like corn unless you turn it into bourbons.
Right. See, there you go. Sour or mash.
Beef.
So, and that's give people an idea of roughly how, I mean, it's hand size, but people don't understand mils. They just walk in and go, oh, that's the size of bottle I want because it's got the most. That bottle in comparison.
12.2 ounces.
12.2 ounce. And just so people know, you don't mind selling it to them if they stop by and they're not going to another liquor store, but you have to charge more in the tasting room than most liquor stores would sell a bottle twice that size for.
Yeah, the little glass bottles actually cost more than the big ones. And then the label, the cap, and the shrink sleeve and all that costs the same. And it costs the same amount, or takes the same amount of labor. I guess our labor is free right now. But it takes the same amount of labor to fill.
You still got to write yourself a check.
Well, hopefully. So it takes the same amount of labor to fill that half-size bottle as it does a full-size bottle. So it's just, you know,
it's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous that it's what it reminds me of. And this is just me speculating. I'm not accusing. I'm just speculating. But what it reminds me, knock that off. That is not fair. Oh, jiminis. If I was sipping bourbon and the other half walked in and she'd be like, already? It's 2:30 in the afternoon and you're already, you've already started. And I'd be like, hey, I had to for the show.
It's a rule.
Right. Nobody has to know that this isn't coffee. No, I'm kidding. What it reminds me of is somebody's palms getting greased somewhere is what it reminds me of. Is like somebody's got their hands in somebody's pockets. And
it's kind of funny when we first started researching the whole distillery business and trying to figure out what a distributor was and how the 3-tier system worked. So the distributors really took control after Prohibition.
Oh yeah. What?
So the people that had access to those distribution lines during Prohibition were the ones that ended up being the distributors. So they really made their money.
Not that we would ever, say that like an Al Capone level person took over distributing what he was already distributing and got the state to approve it. Not that could ever happen.
Right.
Not in Minnesota, at least. How just and you can say as much or as little as you want. Did you guys kind of get down to holding on by the fingernails as
Oh,
as the
yeah,
as
for
the
sure.
shutdown and everything wore on? Did it get pretty hairy?
Yeah, we just barely got started before that all happened. So yeah, it's just been real interesting. Um, I'll
But you're
sleep.
doing but you seem to be selling now.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up actually. I mean, we're still. It took a real dip though. I mean, we did things were really on a nice roll, and then basically it just nosedived during that whole point in time. And we're coming back. Garage Logic helped a lot. That was excellent to have those guys supporting us, and that was very, very helpful. I think our audience definitely grew.
Well, I live 30 miles away, and it took hearing about you guys making hand sanitizer and seeing you on Garage Logic to go, oh wow, I guess I should check them out.
Oh, it's amazing the number of people that come in. We're on our third year here, and I've been meaning to stop by. So it just takes a while, even when people hear about it. It's to make the trip and see what we're about.
It's funny, the first time I stopped in, it felt like I was walking into somebody's living room because the guys were all comfortable. Like one of the guys just got out cards, just started playing cards right there at the bar, the tasting room. I'm like, you guys have to, you have to come down to this area and you have to check them out because it's not what you expect. I think a lot of people have in their minds, and let's just be honest, you think about a bar or a place where hard liquor or hard alcohol is sold in southern southeast Minnesota, you're kind of thinking of the place in the small town that's been there for 400 years and is probably serving literal shots to like cattle drovers and still has the same floors and the same crotchety old lady like, what do you want? And it's not like that at all. You guys put a lot of work and effort into that showroom, and I'm going to be, just so people know, I'm going to be coming down sometime this week to shoot some B-roll so people can see. I'm hoping I can get in there and even get some pictures of the actual distillery
Oh,
itself.
absolutely. Yeah, we're wide open. We don't have any secrets here. Some distiller tells you there's a secret to how they make their alcohol. They don't know what they're doing, or they're telling you a lie.
They're trying to up the cost. That's what they're
The
proprietary processes and recipes forbid us from allowing you to see the room.
the Egyptians were doing this forever ago, before Christ. So.
Yes, beer and hard liquor. So, but it's set up in a way where it's inviting, and they have their windows are wide open, and you can see it from inside of the tasting room. The tasting room is tasteful. It's nice, and they may or may not give you a free sample of one thing when you show up.
That's another one of the rules. So we can give you up to 1 ounce for free, but
Yep.
after that, the government says we have to make you pay for it.
I'm surprised they don't tell you how much you have to make them pay for it.
Well, it's pretty close. There's some of those tax things in there.
Yeah, you can't. Death and taxes, and upsetting a neighbor somewhere. Those are guarantees. So, how did Harmony receive you guys?
Oh, that was great. We all live in Southeast Minnesota, and we're working in Southeast Minnesota. So our goal was to hit some place where we could all get here in 30 minutes at least. And so Larry grew up right outside of Harmony. Andy went to school down the street here. And then I live in Chatfield, but we actually all worked at an ethanol plant in a town just north of here. So we basically had been cooking, fermenting, distilling between the 4 of us that work here for 55 plus years now.
Combined, not each one of you for 55
Correct.
years.
Yeah, I haven't hit the 55 mark yet. But.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm a little older, but I still haven't hit that. So
I look like I'm 65.
It's the lighting, bro. You got to learn. You got to learn how to get your camera up higher. So you should next time you do this.
Yeah, but you can't see any of the wrinkles.
Oh no, we can. I'll make sure I get it in high def. So, So right now, give me a count. Like this, I just keep coming back to this. So like the bar runs out of your bourbon or whatever the case might be. They literally cannot come over and buy a bottle. They have to wait for the distributor.
Correct.
How many local businesses in Southeast Minnesota, let's say Fillmore County, how many businesses do you think your products are in right now?
Oh, I don't have like a Fillmore County count, but we're in about 100 different liquor stores, bars, and restaurants in Minnesota. 100 to 120, I believe.
And is that a steady supply, do you think? Because obviously you don't know because you're not the one that's going and delivering to them.
Yeah.
Or do you know where your product's going?
Yeah, we find out a month later. We have to go do the sales calls. So we'll go to a store or a bar or restaurant, and then we tell them what distributor we're with and how they go about getting a hold of our products. And then it's up to the distributor to follow through with that information, which is sometimes sketchy.
So I had asked you sometimes.
It literally, I mean, like there is no other unless you're talking, illegal or illicit drugs or something. There's no other business that has as little control over the product they make other than liquor. So it's just insane.
Yeah, like your one thing is you just sit there, make it, pour it in a bottle, and hope it goes somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of footwork to get out there and tell people about what we're doing and get in front of bars and get in front of restaurants and get in front of liquor stores. And then you have to count on them to remember you, and you have to count on the distributor to get your product there and keep it in the warehouse. So.
Well, I have, like I said, I have a lot of friends. I wouldn't call them alcoholics because, the old saying is I can't be an alcoholic. Alcoholics go to meetings. But I have a lot of friends that like an adult beverage from time to time. And a lot of them are out of state. Well, with my new subscriber count on YouTube, I think 100 of them are from Minnesota. The rest are from other places where they don't have to see me on a regular basis. So, is there a place, and I asked this before, but is there a place of somebody who lives out of state, and it's not just an easy hop across the Iowa or Wisconsin border to buy a bottle and go home, which is not illegal, people, just settle down. You can buy alcohol in another state and take it somewhere for now.
So if you go to Ace Spirits, which they're located in Hopkins, Minnesota, they can ship our products. But like I said, they carry what gives them the most volume for products. I think right now they may just have our vodka in store, but they can ship to, I think it's 17 states.
So Ace product or Ace
Spirits.
Ace Spirits. I'll try and find the link to that and put it in.
And there's a buy it link on our website. It's broken right now. I think they changed some stuff on the Ace website, so we got to get that fixed. But yeah, they can ship to 17 different states, and there's a listing there of which states they can ship to.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I'll try and get that link into the description of the video so that people who might want to try this, because folks, I've had it, and the bourbon barrel rum, don't try to say that too fast, especially if you've had a couple of shots of it. But the bourbon barrel rum, the rum is distilled and then aged in barrels that had bourbon aged in them. Tell people a little bit about that process, because that stuff is phenomenal.
Yeah, so we just take our white rum, which we also sell, just the white rum itself, and then the bourbon barrels that are empty after we harvest the bourbon out of them. Then we stored that rum in those barrels for 2 years. So the minimum age on that, it's kind of funny. So we wanted to call it bourbon barrel finished rum or bourbon barrel aged rum, but the TTB gets to decide.
Hold on. Yep. Let me guess. The government steps in again and tells you, no, you can't call it that.
So we literally had to call it rum, bourbon barrel finished, and the word rum has to be on the top line, and then the bourbon barrel finished has to be lower than the rest of the name of the product. So it is bourbon barrel finished rum, but it's rum bourbon barrel finished, and it's real nice. It's very smooth. You get a little bit of the bourbon sweetness, and you definitely get a little barrel. If you enjoy a cigar, it goes real nice with a cigar.
Well, and that's the thing, because there are people who can sip bourbon, and there are people who can sip rum or maybe do shots of it. But a person who doesn't like rum would like this, because it has the same flavor profile to some degree as rum, but it doesn't have the sharpness that a straight rum would if it was just a white rum. It has the tonality, if you will, of bourbon.
Oh yeah, you get a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of maple. Yeah, a lot of that oak sweetness is amazing. My wife drinks a lot of the unnamed pirate spiced rum. She likes that, but she just likes it with soda. But I had her try it on its own, and the stuff that she normally drinks, and she does not like that. But my wife, who does not drink straight alcohol, does like our rum bourbon barrel aged.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Jim's wife approves. So tell me a little bit. One of the things that you were explaining to me one of the times that I stopped in was that you right now you're working through selling out of a particular number or a particular set of labels, which had 80 proof on them, because you want to be able to go to selling straight out of just straight at barrel proofing.
So we definitely have some different proof levels on different products now. So we'll still have 80 proof vodka and bourbon and whiskey and rum, but we're changing the labels. So we tried to do as much as we can locally. So like our barrel, we get our barrels out of Avon, Minnesota, from the barrel mill. And a lot of those staves are actually made in Caledonia by Stegemeyer's. So everything we can do local, we try to do local. And that's something we're also transitioning to. The labels we were getting before were printed in Wisconsin. So now we're having our labels printed in Rochester, which is really nice because I can just drive up there and pick them up, and and then we can order in smaller quantities, and so that's been a great transition. Plus, just one more thing we can say, we've done it as local as we can.
So tell the audience a little bit about the difference between, because I don't think people understand this. It was eye-opening to me. You don't just like go distill some rum, and what's the average just for rum? How long does it take to distill down to a good rum?
So from cooking and fermenting and distilling, rum will be 3.5 weeks.
At a minimum.
Yep, and that's probably just first run. So about 4 weeks to make just white rum, and then like I said, our bourbon barrel aged rum, then that sits in the barrel for 2 years. Right. So you're talking 2 years and 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get that product.
So yeah, so anywhere from a month to 2 years, depending on what you're doing. Yeah. And it's not like you are distilling it to a particular proof. It comes out of the barrel or out of the distillery or whatever at a proof. And if you want to sell it at 80 proof, you don't distill to 80 proof. What do they make you do to get it to 80 proof?
So we have to add water to make the proof exact. We can be 0.3% above or 0.3% below whatever the labeled proof is on the bottle. We do have a couple products that are at 92 proof. So our rum, the bourbon barrel aged rum, and our straight bourbon are at 92. And then we also have a barrel proof bourbon, and that we can bottle at whatever proof it was in the barrel. But each time we bottle it, we have to technically create a brand new product, and then we have to hand write all the labels.
And by the way, they do, because I've seen them. So but I don't see that's there again when you're walking into a liquor store and you see see the bourbon section, and there's all of these different bourbons. You have no idea what you're looking at. You just, oh, it's bourbon. But nobody, it kind of blew my mind, the idea that you do not distill to the proof level. You
Yeah, they have different
distill
rules.
and then you take it to its proof level if it's going to be at an 80 or something like that.
So like vodka
Whereas
or rum, we can distill up to kind of whatever we want, like 180 proof if we'd like to. But the bourbon, we have to stay 165 or less, I believe it is, either 160 or 165. I don't remember exactly, but and then can only be barreled. I think it has to be below or right at 125 when you barrel bourbon. So bourbon's got a whole specific set of rules to it too.
is that to be considered a bourbon, or is that because the state says that?
So yeah, that's a rule for bourbon. So
Okay.
Each different kind of alcohol has its own rules. Bourbon probably has the most rules out of the products that we make. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, what kind of scotch do you make?" Well, it's like you can't make scotch in the United States. You can make scotch in Scotland. You can't make Irish whiskey in the United States. You've got to make it in Ireland. And that bourbon is actually kind of the United States middle finger to Britain because they cut off the rum supply. And so Americans said, well, we're going to make our own stuff. So they started making whiskey out of whatever they could find, right? There was a lot of corn. And so then all these other countries are like, well, you can't make this style and you can't make that style. So we said, well, you guys can't make what we do. So bourbon has all these rules that you have to, it has to be 52% more or more corn. It has to be made in the U.S. If you want to just call it bourbon, it's got to be made in Bourbon County, Kentucky. And then if you want to call it bourbon whiskey, it has to be made in the United States. And then they have you can only still it at such and such a proof, and you can barrel it at such and such a proof. And it has to be in a new charred oak barrel. You can't use a used barrel to make bourbon. And then it's kind of funny too, because basically the Irish and the Scotch, they buy all the bourbon barrels they can get their hands on to age their whiskeys in because it makes them taste better.
I love that. That was awesome. We'll just throw that in there. So you said that and a lot of people know this. Well, maybe not. The Brits cut rum sales off to the colony. It was at the colonies at the time, correct?
Yeah, if you look up the whiskey, well, kind of right before the Whiskey Rebellion.
Right. So there, ladies and gentlemen, if you were looking for a tie-in to why I would be talking to guys in a distillery on a channel that's about about liberty and the Constitution, if you haven't heard enough, there's your tie-in. So
you take away the rum and they get pissed.
Yes, and there's nothing worse than a bunch of pissed off farmers with rifles.
Correct.
And sober. So there's a tie-in, but and I told you this, Jim. I like to profile and highlight businesses that are, kind of traditional, entrepreneurial, pull myself up by the bootstraps. I'm gonna make a go of this. I'm gonna do this. And one of the reasons why is exactly what you guys did. Is you're like, why am I working for somebody else? I mean, okay, great. I had a job with them. You guys have 55 plus years of experience between the four of you. I guess 3 of you were cooking and distilling and stuff, and one of them was working as a supervisor at the same place. So you got 4 people are all going, I can do this on my own, but I can make more fun out of it. Instead of ethanol, instead of getting your car drunk, I'm going to get you drunk.
Right.
And you went out and you did it. You did it. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I'm sure it probably had its moments where you guys were pulling your hair out, or maybe that's why you're gray at 51. I don't know. But you guys went out and did it. And frankly, the state has done everything in its power to stand in your way. There's just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And you've jumped through all those hoops, and you guys are, I would like to, from my perspective, I don't know what, what the QuickBooks look like at the end of the month, but my perspective is the more I look around and the more I see, you guys are doing well.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you in more and more places now.
The 5-year mark is probably the true test. So like,
yeah, I don't foresee, like, you might be your own best customer at that point.
You know, there is a plus where we used to work when the power went out. You know, you sit there and wait for the power to come back on, or scramble around putting out fires. When the power goes off here, we just drink.
Well, we can't leave when the power's out because you don't know what's going to happen, and we can't let the product go bad.
Right.
What's the shelf life on your guys' product? Does the state tell you how, what the sell by date has to be, or?
You know, that's the great thing about liquor is there's no expiration date. Basically, as long as the bottle's not open and the cork doesn't fail, you got a lifelong product. So we do have that going for us. The expiration date is nil.
So speaking of which, I need you to demonstrate for me. Ladies and gentlemen, they actually cork their bottles. We need to hear it. We need to hear
it. The squeak. I don't want to take the seal off this one.
Well, no, though. How about the one you've been drinking out of?
Well, that's got a spout in it.
Oh, gee, never mind. Never mind. Their bottles are corked.
Squeak is important, though.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's every time. That's one of the first things I asked him. I was like, "So are all your bottles corked?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we don't screw around."
We do use a synthetic cork though, because the real cork will break off and dry out after a while. But
and you get floaties
forever. Yeah.
You don't want floaties in your bourbon.
Still okay.
That's still yeah. So it's a little substance, a little fiber. So, are you guys on a circuit yet? Have you found that? Have you made it into the tour? Are you seeing more and more people who are like, oh yeah, we're doing a distillery tour, or we're doing a brewery and distillery tour, and they're stopping in and getting the flight?
Spring and summer, 80% of the people that are stopping have never been here before, so they're just finding us. And yeah, really, if you go down Highway 52, you brewery, distillery. And then another distillery in Spring Grove, you can get Decorah. So yeah, we definitely get a lot of breweries, and yeah, I'm headed here next and coming to see you guys.
I'd be the guy looking around going, "Who's your designated driver?" Because the list you just gave me going to be a bad day for you if you don't have a designated driver.
Most do come with a designated driver. We get bus loads too. So.
I'd be the guy that would ride all the way up the hill from Preston to Harmony and go, "Where's the distillery?" Because that is a hell of a hill, people. I strongly encourage people to go out and check out the bike trails in this area because they're some of the most beautiful. But if you are the dummy who did what I did the first time and ride all the way up the hill from Preston to Harmony, you deserve it. You deserve all the torture in the world.
But after you've done it once, you know what to expect. So.
Well, especially if you've got the guys at the Harmony Spirits waiting for you at the end, it's a little different. And you guys are what, half a block from the bike trail head?
Yep, yeah, and then pretty soon it's actually going to come right by the front door. It'll
How did you finagle that?
That was part of the deal.
We got in on a tax increment financing, and we got the bike trail. So
it's going to head to Niagara Cave, and then it'll actually hook up to Iowa. And then the guy that has that Harvest Farm campground, he got it all set up so it could actually go through his campground and hook up to the Cresco Trail.
Oh, nice. Nice. Kind of like what they do down there with it going right past Old Barn.
Yeah.
Around by down outside of Preston as well. So yeah, check out the bike trail. Make sure you get to Harmony. And then if you're out of state, you got to come do a tour, because we have enough distilleries and breweries in this section of Minnesota that you won't have to leave the area for a week.
We actually do the Harvest Host thing too. So we don't have any hookups for campers, but if you want to bring your camper and you're self-sufficient, you can just park in the lot, and all you got to do is reserve a date.
You call that the Harvest what?
Harvest Hosts.
Harvest Hosts.
Yeah, so you just go on the Harvest Host website and to go to the calendar and set up. We can only have like 6 at a time due to space restrictions. But yeah, you can actually reserve a date, and you can just park your camper, and then you don't have to worry about driving anywhere.
Perfect. Or you just put a tent in their yard. So there you go. So you guys do a car show every year too now, I guess.
Yeah, the 4th of July. Well, usually it's the day before, so the 3rd. But 4th of July is a big weekend in Harmony. We've got a few fun things, actually. The June and August, we're going to try and get some live music, hopefully centralized in downtown Harmony, so that
I was just going to say, you can't fit them in the tasting room. There's no way.
we've
The
had
band would
music
take
out in the process area before. That's kind of nice, but yeah, it can get a little loud. But yeah, we're trying to set it up so it's outside, so that all the local bars and restaurants can participate and
nice.
get some sponsorships from different businesses in town. So.
And then you do the car show. You said the day before the 4th of July, whatever that day that is.
Yeah, and parade, and we'll usually have some live music, and they put a beer tent right in the parking lot that's right next to the distillery, and they usually have a band on the Saturday night. We're actually having a meeting this afternoon to discuss 4th of July activities. So.
And so who's the car nut?
Super Jim Strozik. So he's one of our friends, and he has a drag car that we sponsored, so it's all decked out in Harmony Spirits logo and red, white, and blue.
I was trying to figure out if maybe one of you guys was into old cars and said, hey, let's, nothing goes better together than alcohol and old cars.
Yeah. Burnouts, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you manufacture his drag fuel for him?
No, he actually gets it out at the airport.
Oh, okay. Damn. If you were able to tell somebody, and because I think it's counterintuitive for most people, when they think about an entrepreneur and a business owner, a lot of times people are like, oh, they're not going to give me any advice because, who wants competition? Obviously, you don't want a distillery that makes your exact same product opening up across the street from you. But if there's somebody out there,
the exact same product.
Yeah, well, see, touche. Thank you. Yes, very, very true. They cannot. That's what my wife says. You know what you're getting for your birthday, for our anniversary this year? And I'm like, what? She goes, bourbon barrel. What? Wait, no, rum.
Bourbon barrel.
Bourbon barrel finished. Yes, okay. To make sure I say it right. And I'm like for our anniversary. That's what I'm getting for our anniversary. Like,
that's a good gift.
I'll buy it myself. She can buy me ammo or something.
I tell my wife every year, like Christmas and birthdays, I'm like, give me some bourbon. You don't have to buy me a necktie or socks,
Yeah, please don't buy me a necktie. I'll need more bourbon if you buy me a necktie. If there was somebody out there looking around going, I'm not talented in a lot of things, but I think I can do something like this. Is it worth it? Because this is it's a science, absolutely a science, but is it something that, would you tell people, pursue it, go for it?
I think it depends on the week. So like every small business, we have a week where we're riding high, right? Everything went well. The big order came through. We had a good weekend in the tasting room. Everything's looking rosy. And then, the next week it's like, oh crap, we need to buy this or pay that bill, or we forgot about the workers' comp insurance or whatever it is, so it's like you have that real great week and then you have the low week. And so like any small business, I really compare us to farming because we're pretty ag based anyway. All the grain that we use comes within 10 miles of the place. It's you have your ups, you have your downs. Sometimes the weather affects it, and sometimes it's animal. Mm-hmm. So it's all a strange animal. And to just say yay or nay, if you ask me right now, I'd probably say nay. But if you ask me a couple of weeks from now, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's going great. So it's cyclical, and
right.
The 5-year mark is really the true test. If you survived to the 5-year mark and you paid all your taxes and, we're putting out a good product. So that, You know, if you're
No, you guys are not putting out a good product. You guys are putting out an excellent product. Seriously. Like when you told me, oh no, don't buy it here. Just go buy it in, wherever. You're gonna get a better deal buying it in a liquor store. That for one, to me, that's impressive that you're willing to say that, because there again, for the person who's stopping in town on a tour and they don't live in the area or they don't live in Minnesota, it's just as easy to spend the money to buy it right there in the tasting room. But for the local people in Minnesota, find a liquor store that has it, and I'm telling you right now, you will not be disappointed, because this stuff is phenomenal. And I don't shoot hard liquor straight very often, and I have no problem with. In fact, what was it? 2 weeks ago? Was it? Yeah, 2 weeks ago that I dropped off coffee.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, here's what do you say for the delivery fee?" And he just poured me an ounce for the delivery fee, and it's so smooth. And that's coming from there again, a guy. I don't do shots very often, and it's that good, and it's
you gotta be classy though. It's a taste.
Excuse me. Yes, a taste. Let's do it a taste. I'm not classy. If I got classy, people would be worried. They'd probably think I was hitting the bottle already. So, but you check them out. And like I said, I'm going to put a link to that Ace Spirits so that you guys can go in and order if you're out of state or you're not close enough to pop to a liquor store that in Southeast Minnesota that, across the border and buy it. I'm telling you, it's 100% worth it. It's a phenomenal product. And I'm just going to throw it out there. These are true red-blooded Americans, patriotic red-blooded Americans. And one of the things that makes me understand that was when I was telling them a little bit of my story and kind of the entrepreneurial nature of direction that my life has gone. Jim goes, "You got any coffee with you now?" And then he tried to hand me money, and I didn't even have the product on me. I didn't. I was like, no. I
like coffee.
And he tried mine. He said it's not dark enough for him, so now I got to get a darker roast just for Jim.
It was really good though. It didn't have any of that acidic flavor that I don't like. I don't like those acidic ones. Like when they say fruity, I'm like, nope, not for me. But
by the way, I've not paid him to say any of this, so
I like the dark roast or medium roast, and then it's got to have plenty of caffeine. So.
Oh, yeah, there's no shortage of caffeine in my coffee. I'll tell you that. Everybody that's tried it.
Couple, ounces out of the bottom of the coffee pot. You stand there and wait for it to fill up just the first couple ounces, and then the strong shot.
Right? Yeah. You can always add more coffee if you need it to be stronger, right?
Yeah, but then the water, like I use an auto drip, so the water backs up and runs all over the counter. So I can only put so much coffee in that basket.
You just got to start going to a French press. You'll never go back. No, so he bought coffee, and then I jokingly, when I dropped the bag off for him, I jokingly go, "Well, I'll just bring a case over and you can sell it for me." He goes, "Okay." I'm like, "What?" I have to learn.
It's amazing the number of people that enjoy bourbon and coffee. They're both adult beverages.
Well, yeah, except I could put my kid out on the street having drank coffee, and no one's going to take them from me. If I put my kid out on the street after having drank your bourbon, I'm going to lose my kids and probably my ability to drink your bourbon.
I suppose.
But no, I have to be careful when I say things, even in jest, because that's how I ended up selling coffee. I interviewed a business owner and go, "Well, gosh, I need my own label of coffee." "Oh, we can do that." I'm like, next thing I know, I'm selling coffee.
Now I'm meeting people. That rum label, let me know.
Hey, I'll do it. I will do a rum label in a heartbeat. We'll get a fancy like old world or a Revolutionary War looking label and put it on there, and I'll just take $1 per sale. That's all I want, just so I can. No, that'd be great. Bourbon or rum and
Black
coffee.
Robe Regiment rum.
Ooh, that sounds good. Don't tease me like that.
Sorry, it would be rum, Black Robe Regiment. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to have it right. You can't. You wouldn't want the state to tell you it can't. It can't be.
Well, that's the feds. The state just whatever you put on the label, as long as the feds approve it, the state doesn't care. They just take money.
Why are you telling me this now? So wait, the feds are involved in this too?
Oh, the feds are the ones that track or I have to submit all the label work to them, and then they tell me what I can and can't say on the label.
No wonder you have days where you're like, no, it's not worth it.
They don't charge you anything, though. And then after they approve it, then you submit it to the state, but they charge you to submit it at the state level. So.
Wait, to just submit it for approval, you get charged.
Yeah, even though they don't cross the feds. You know, it's if the feds approve it, the state approves it, but the state charges you for that approval.
And it may not even get. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why. This is why. In a complete moment of seriousness, this is why people don't do anything anymore. I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but if you do too much research before you start a business, you won't start a business. Sometimes you just have to commit and go for it and then get frustrated because this is ridiculous. I need
if we knew what we do now, I don't think we'd probably dive into it quite as wholeheartedly as we did. But now that we're here and you figure it all out, you know, by trial and error, of course.
So there's a wood burning piece of art on the wall behind you, over your left shoulder. I believe that was a local guy, wasn't it?
Gal in Byron. So April Zacher. Yeah. She does amazing art.
April
Zacher.
Yeah,
so AZ wood burning.
And one of your regular customers does some, is it pallet work or something?
Oh, yeah. So Austin at Bockel's Barrel Works in Preston.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he takes used bourbon and whiskey and wine barrels and makes all kinds of fun stuff out of them. Chairs and tables and bars and all kinds of different serving trays and all kinds of fun stuff. Actually, I go there every once in a while, but I'm supposed to be there more, but things always pop up. So,
yeah. So I'm going to need the name. I've got Austin's contact, but I'm going to need contact information for that gal so I can promote her too in the link to this.
Yeah. I got a few cards from her.
No, just send me the website in an email or something. You said earlier that you guys start to heat up right around the spring.
Yeah, so like liquor store sales and visits to the tasting room kind of pick up when it gets nice out.
Do you do anything promotional just for you guys, like say like a springtime party or get together or anything like that?
We do have events here. If you go like we don't have anything major planned right now. I know March 5th we're going to do some fun art project with Urban Artifacts in Preston. So
okay.
last Saturday they had a group of people in and they showed them how to make those barn quilts you see hanging on people's barns, the wood sign thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to come in and they paid for their instruction and their project, whatever inputs, and then sat here and we gave them a free cocktail and they sat here and painted their barn quilts. So they're going to do some other kind of fun arty thing here March 5th.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would love to be part of getting your guys' name out there for something like that. So if you guys decide to come up with something where you're going to do a big, bike season opener, because March 5th is still not bike season in Minnesota.
No. Yeah, we usually plan some fun stuff for the
But
summer.
if you decide to do something, let me know. I'd like to promote that for you.
Absolutely.
See if we can get you some traction from around the state and maybe even out of the state. So I appreciate your time and can't guarantee that you're gonna get a lot of sales, but you might get some visitors.
Perfect.
I'm always surprised. I run into somebody like, oh, hey, I watch your stuff, and I'm like, who are you? Don't you have anything better to do? So, which is why I like talking to folks like you. People who I know are patriotic, and you know, are not afraid to put themselves out there and do what the American dream is, which is to go for it, even whenever, you know, the deck is stacked against you. And it says a lot about all of you, about your character and your partner's character, that you guys started a year before the pandemic, made it through the pandemic, adapted to the pandemic, did something to serve the community. I know, but you did something to ultimately serve the community, helped you too. And you made it through because, as you know, and I'm sure you probably had friends, a lot of people didn't survive that. Followed all the rules and they didn't survive.
Yeah, still people, I think, struggling and trying to figure out where to go next.
Absolutely. So, even though it's on the screen, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page and a Twitter account. I don't do a very good job of being active on Twitter, but we're at harmonyspirits.net. And then, yeah, if you go on Facebook, and it's just Facebook and then harmonyspirits.net. We do Instagram too, but I'm about as good at Instagram as I am Twitter.
Well, what you need to do is you need to hire a teenager.
Yes. Yep.
You wouldn't even have to do that. You obviously can't pay them in product, but you could just hire a teenager, like $10 a week to tweet out like 5 things, and I guarantee you'd have a following.
I got a 13-year-old at home, so maybe he'd be the one.
Keep him away from the phone.
Right.
No, we're gonna get you guys out there. See if see if we can do something and get people looking at you, because I love what you guys are doing, and I look forward to seeing you more, especially when I come over to do my B-roll.
Perfect.
I might have to take a taste. So
it's a requirement.
Yeah, you walk in, it's like they just handed it to me. I'm like, you don't even. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm here to drop off AA pamphlets. I don't know.
Quitters never win.
It's oh, it's not fair. You've had the lubrication. I've still got coffee that's sapping my sense of humor.
I can't drink coffee after noon or I won't sleep. So.
Well, I just have to drink more liquor later and I'll sleep better. Hey, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Romans, countrymen, whatever you want to say, go and check out. Yeah, see, he did it. Oh, he's going to down it right in front of me. Go and check out their website. Check them out on social media. Harass them on Instagram and Twitter until they get better about following through on there. Now I'm going to have to find a way to link it. Just find them on Instagram. I'm not putting the link in. Support them in any way that you can. Find a way to order if your state allows the shipping of alcohol across state lines through internet. I'm so over some of this stuff. But go and support them. These guys, they're hard workers, and as you heard him say, like it's a pretty small operation when it comes to number of people they got working. They do everything from bottling and loading the trucks and unloading the trucks, so pretty much on their own. So support them, get and put their name out there. And if you know somebody who's in the area has never heard of them, make sure they hear about them now. This is what America is all about. This is what it is. You get tired of working for the man. You become your own boss. And to some degree, even with state interference, the state interfering at the federal level and at the state level and sometimes even at different county levels, you can become uncancelable. Nobody can come and take this away from you when it's what you've built. And we know that's not always true, but just imagine if people found out that they're sponsoring Garage Logic, and everybody knows how Joe and crew feels about Mysterians on the left, and they got really mad and found out, and they said, we're going to cancel you. And you're going to be like, you go ahead and try and I dare you to try and cancel Harmony Liquor, because once Joe and I found out about it, we're going to send all of the conservative, constitutionally minded people there. It's going to Harmony will be full of drunk constitutionalists. You don't want that.
We don't.
Well, you know what? You might. So I can't say it enough. Make sure you check them out. Check out their website. Check out their social media and support them, because this is how we win. We keep America alive. by supporting small businesses, and we turn them into something. Everybody starts somewhere, and these guys have done it, and they're going to make it past 5 years. There's no way they won't, because we're going to support them. So, like always, until next time, Sic Semper Tyrannis.
Please stand by. Please stand by. Please stand by. Please stand by.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at